What is up, guys? It's your boy, Space Whale Cacus, and today, with the weekly reset within Destiny 2, something very interesting happened. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't the release of a new exotic quest that was rumored to happen today. We do know there is an exotic weapon coming in Season of the Deep, but now we just don't know when. However, what actually happened is that there is a new method to farm exotics within the game, and honestly, it might be one of the most accessible ways for the largest amount of players to actually get their hands on consistent exotic drops. And that's because, as you can see right here, you can unlock the ability for deep dives to drop both enhancement prisms and exotic gear. So, as you can see right here, upon completion, my teammate gets a Verity's Brow, which actually turns out to be a pretty juicy 66 stat. And when we compare this activity to other ways to get exotics within Destiny 2, with Lost Sectors, you need to go in solo, whereas Deep Dives have matchmaking, right? The Neomuna public event is a random chance. You can obviously target farm Deep Dives. And yes, higher tier Nightfalls do have the chance to drop exotics, but Deep Dives don't have champions. So depending on your build, not having to account for champions might make Deep Dives the easier way to go. So let's talk about how to unlock this and some tips for getting this done as fast as possible. Now, you will need to do the new weekly quest that comes up after the weekly reset. So it's actually going to make you play this mission, and this mission is basically just unlocking the final depth of Deep Dive, and then guess what? You're actually going to have to play another Deep Dive. Interestingly, as you can see, when I went to select this, I didn't have the option for exotics to drop. So actually I had to complete this and then complete the rest of the weekly mission. And then when that was done, then when I went over Deep Dives, I had, as you can see in the tooltip, the ability for exotics to drop. So make sure that weekly mission is completely done. Now, when it comes to these Deep Dives, you can increase your reward tier by doing the kind of secret taken objectives. So, on every single floor, there's going to be, as you can see, an object you can interact with, like a Toland floating taken object. Now, importantly, guys, every single member of the fire team does need to interact with this. Now, there's a little bit of a tip here. If you're in a matchmade activity and your teammates have no clue what's going on, you can actually die on this object, and it will prioritize interacting with the object before reviving you. So potentially you could just die on this object, your teammates come to try to revive you, and they accidentally, interact with this thing to hopefully get that triggered. It's going to then spawn an additional taken objective. So sometimes, as you can see, you have to stand in these taken things and defuse them. Other times there's going to be blights that spawn, you have to shoot them, and other times there's going to be, blights that float in the air. This time you have to shoot them. But regardless, on every single floor, once this taken objective is activated and the additional objective is completed, then more powerful enemies are going to spawn, and you do have a time limit to get that floor done. However, completing these floors with the more powerful enemies is no joke. There are a lot of yellow bars that spawn. Heck, a lot of mini bosses and even full bosses spawn as well. So you need to make sure you're using a great meta PvE build. I made a video on the Arc Grenadier Titan, linked up above. That's what I'm using in the background gameplay. It was fantastic. The Arc Melee Hunter, I did also a build guide for. That's going to be probably pretty darn good in this with constant invisibility, but you need to make sure you have weaponry capable of taking down these big yellow bar mini bosses. So some high DPS stuff, the Heritage shotgun and stuff like that you can rely on to take these guys down. Don't just rely on your heavy weapon, and that's because another tip is that you have to be paying attention to the modifiers that are within Deep Dives, because guys, it's like purely negative modifiers. As you can see here, famine, so you're actually going to get less ammo, does come online when doing these Deep Dives. And so again, only having DPS from your heavy and then maybe using something like a blinding grenade launcher, yeah, that's fine normally, but that means if you run out of ammo for your heavy and Famine's active, you might kind of be screwed. So make sure to have like a backup option ready. Now, speaking of Famine, another tip is that you might want to prioritize getting an exotic primary into your build, because if you're gonna run out of ammo for your heavy and your special, you might as well have the most powerful primary that has infinite ammo that you possibly can, because exotic primaries are gonna do 40% more damage against red bars. And if you're using one like the Malfeasance, or the Revision Zero, or even something like the Wish Ender, something that can do a ton of damage against yellow bar enemies as well, it can potentially save you in those scenarios you do run out of ammo. But another great choice, and what I personally used, was the Risk Runner. Guys, the only enemies you're gonna encounter here are Taken, Hive, and Fallen. All three do a lot of arc damage, right? Hive has the wizards and the boomers, Fallen is pretty much all arc, and then even Taken, the acolytes seem to shoot arc, so you have a lot of ways to trigger Risk Runner, and you're negating those, yellow bar wizards that would normally absolutely clap you. Risk Runner can keep you alive. Now, in addition to that, having something that can provide healing is very important. As you can see right here, there's modifiers that limit your healing. You have to be near teammates. Well, that's not always going to happen. So going in with something like a Warlock that can simply put down a healing rift and get around this, or again, that arc melee build that can just heal on melee kills, that's going to be something very useful as well. Because as you can see, if you don't have healing and you get low and your teammates are on the other side of the map, you're kind of screwed. But next up, another tip, don't hold back for the floor you're currently on. And what I mean by that is I've seen so many people with the mentality of, oh, I've got to save my super for the boss. I've got to save my heavy for the final boss. Guys, you're going to get, as you can see, a heavy ammo crate on the second floor. And before the actual boss fight, you get a rally flag. So make sure to be using your super, like pretty much all of your heavy, whatever resources available to you on each floor to get that individual floor done, because again, those resources are going to be refreshed before the final boss fight. And so guys, hopefully those tips can help you overcome this challenge. Now, if you are able to beat it, there's something you should know. At the final reward chest, you're actually going to get two chests, the main chest and then a bonus chest for doing these additional objectives. Again, your reward tier can go as high as 7 times, but as you can see right here, it's actually going to take multiple deep dive keys because you're going down so far, you're getting essentially the rewards for, 3 floors all at once. Like I had 2 deep dive keys. As you can see, after I get this chest, I'm out completely. So I don't know how much this impacts your exotic rewards. Those might be unrelated. They might be related. Let me know in the comment section how often you guys are getting exotics with no keys and then with keys. But you may want to, because it takes multiple keys, kind of save this activity as to when you have, 2 or 3 deep dive keys and then go in, get one done, and then do whatever else within the game. I think if you do have multiple keys, 100% it's worth doing at least one of these runs. The fact that you can get, a high stat exotic piece from this activity, and again, it's match made, all that stuff, I think makes it definitely a more desirable thing to play. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.